Hello, everyone. This is EETV, where we strive to bring you everything in entertainment. First 3 episodes of Obi-Wan Star Wars has been in the books. Let's review it. Okay, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of EETV. And if you're like me, you just finished watching the latest episode of Obi-Wan, and we know everything was happening. We got the backstory. We know Obi-Wan's watching over Luke, and he's living the mundane life as a butcher on Tatooine. Okay, so we all know what happens. Let's do a quick rundown of all the 3 episodes. Obi-Wan is in exile after Order 66. He's living a mundane life as a butcher on Tatooine. And of course, he's keeping his head low while keeping an eye on Luke Skywalker. You get to see how the Empire is ruling everything and how Obi-Wan is a shell of his former self as he still is dealing with his failure over the past decade and how he is just dealing with things. You can see he has a ton of unresolved issues, definitely PTSD. And even though towards the end of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, when Yoda spoke to Obi-Wan and said he would teach him how to commune with Qui-Gon Jinn, you can tell he has not pulled his full effort into contacting Qui-Gon Jinn after Yoda showed him how to do so. Obi-Wan has had minimal contact with Luke. He has had some dealings with Owen, and Owen's basically telling him to stay away. He is eventually not tracked down due to his own doing, but because of an unnamed Jedi that was on Tatooine that happened to, find Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan just basically told him just to leave it. The fight's over. And, he couldn't believe what was going on. Just like anything that, you go to meet your heroes and they're not what they're supposed to be. You can see the unknown Jedi had a problem with that. So I'm still reviewing episode 1. And that Jedi is lately found murdered. When the Grand Inquisitor shows up with the rest of the Inquisitors, they allow him to escape so he could lead him to the other Jedi. And you can see the Inquisitors are playing the long game, but Reva, aka Third Sister, she seems to be a little bit impulsive and wants to get at Obi-Wan. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the very first episode, Reva, along with other Jedi younglings, are shown fleeing the temple during Order 66, what I thought was a good opening scene because other than what we saw in other Star Wars media, we really didn't get to see other people's perspective of what happened in Order 66 when the temple in Coruscant was attacked. So that was good to see. So you can see Reva, aka Third Sister, has an axe to grind with Obi-Wan because of what happened. Or maybe because she's believing that because of the lie that was told the remnants of the Jedi after Order 66 was executed. So we get to see how Luke is living, like 10-year-old Luke and 10-year-old Leia. And I'll just have to say this. Deborah Chow directed this, and I think so far she's done a good job. But though I have seen something that really brought me a flashback. If any of you are children from the 80s or the 90s, if you had seen the 90s children's film, especially what comes to mind is Three Ninjas and Home Alone, when the big bad adults try to attack the good-natured children, and these adults that are good at their craft and villains try to attack the good-natured children. You couldn't quite catch them, and they stumble and bumble and fall into tree branches, like what happened in Star Wars. Is like this, like, you got to be a hardened killer, and he goes to get at Leia when she's in the forest, and he stumbles and hit the tree branch, and that just reminded me of a Home Alone and Three Ninjas. So I wanted to say that. But it's kind of unbelievable. If you're a hardened criminal, you can't catch a 10-year-old. I I don't know, but I'm not nitpicking here. I'm just saying them. Another nitpick I saw. I know it's a nitpick. But when they killed the unnamed Jedi, if he passed away and he has no more strength in his muscles, why his head up? Like when they had him basically crucified up in there, like they didn't have anything rope keeping his neck up. But I know they had to show his head facing forward because it had to show the audience that that was the same Jedi that escaped from that bar before when the Inquisitors show up. You know, to keep the audience engaged. I understand that. So we're moving right along. They kidnapped Leia from Alderaan, and it was good to see some other shots and showing how beautiful Alderaan is before the Death Star blew it up. So it was good to see other shots of Alderaan. They kidnap Leia from Alderaan, and they take her, and then Senator Organa contacts Obi-Wan, and then he later shows up in person on Tatooine. And my thing is this: he was a major senator, and he had command of the entire army of Alderaan, and not one person out of that entire planet or his other connections can go and get Leia. He only trusts Obi-Wan. I know they got to move the story along, but I really thought they could have came up with a better plot device to move everything along. So Obi-Wan, even though he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't want to leave Luke unguarded, because they're still trying to fool the Empire, he goes and tries to retrieve Leia, and he's in stealth mode, and he goes through things, and he takes his lightsaber where he buried it in Tatooine, but he doesn't even use it yet. So he goes to get Leia, moves in, and he doesn't even use the Force into the second episode where Leia's falling off the building, and he uses the Force to gently lower her towards the ground. And I'm just highlighting some other things here. I will have to say this. I know they wanted to show Leia's stubbornness and how she was so stubborn, how she was in episodes 4, 5, and 6. But I think they really took it to a new level, really showing how stubborn Leia is, because she's only a 10-year-old. I know some people would show some characteristics of who they would be as an adult, but I think they were taking it to the next level. I know they wanted to show that Leia was headstrong like she was in episodes 4, 5, and 6, but I think they could have dialed it back a little bit because it's kind of making her annoying. And when it came to the cinematography, it was good, but I can tell, much like other people could tell, like the actress that was playing Leia, young Leia, you could tell she was moving slow, and they were using different camera angles and different editing techniques to show if she was moving fast, but you could tell she was still moving slow. But it is what it is. And I know they did the best they could do, but that's just something that I noticed. So Obi-Wan doesn't even touch the lightsaber yet. With the help of the fake Jedi, he's able to get off a planet with a unmanned transport ship. And now I'm in episode 3. And now, excuse me for saying this. Now, look, haven't seen too many unmanned transport ships in the movies in Star Wars. So I'm wondering, like, do they use that as a transport sometimes? Or would that be that unmanned transport ship have life support systems on it? I don't know. That's just something I was thinking about when I saw it. Like, you know, would a drone transport ship have life support systems on it just in case somebody had to hop planets, or to ride with live cargo? Maybe. I don't know. That's just something that came to mind to me. So when I'm in episode 3, a little bit more action is ramped up a little bit. Now, I will say this, even though I'm on the fence so far about this, I will say that they're steadily building the action and the seriousness of what's going on at a steady pace. The only other thing that I had a problem with is when Third Sister impaled the Grand Inquisitor with her lightsaber. I think that was a little bit too soon, because in other medias, when the antagonist are trying to get their agenda across and they disagree with other antagonists, it usually the story plays out a little bit more and you find out a little bit more information before you see the antagonist, if there's a group of them, turn against each other like the way she did. I thought that was kind of fast that she did that. But it is what it is. Another thing I noticed too, that other people have always noticed in episode 2, when Third Sister was telling Obi-Wan, when she was yelling out loud that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, I knew right then and there that Vader told Third Sister that, because in the Star Wars universe, that is not privy to information. Like, look, only that was a need to know basis. Basically, if somebody didn't tell you that and you found that on your own, Vader would have you dealt with, or if he dealt with you himself, because he wanted to keep that hush hush. You know, so I knew her and Vader were working together immediately when she said that, because not many people knew that information. So we're in the 3rd episode. They're on the planet. Obi-Wan gets a little bit jumpy, and understandable, because Leia has been annoying and doing things that I don't think Leia would do in situations, because she doesn't realize what kind of danger she's in. And they didn't wait for their contact at the place, and they were able to sneak away from the port, and they didn't wait for their contact. They hitch a ride, and something told me something what it was supposed to be. They picked up a couple stormtroopers on the ride, and they asked a couple questions, and it looked like, and they were playing back and forth because they wanted to raise the stakes and make you worry about the characters. So Obi-Wan slipping up and calling Leia about her real name instead of the fake name they agreed upon, Luna, and then say, oh, that was her mother's name, was a nice pull, because now it had her thinking about her father and the mother and how Obi-Wan knew who they were, but he doesn't reveal that to her. And I like the fact in this that the load driver, even though he played the nice guy, he kind of knew what was going on, because when they get to the checkpoint, he says, you know, I got a couple people you should check out. But Obi-Wan, you know, defends Leia, does a nice quick moves using the blaster. But he missed one stormtrooper, but someone else that was working with the rebellion is able to help him out, a young dark-haired female. And they break through the checkpoint, and they go to a safe house. And I don't understand this. I've seen a bunch of films that had safe houses and how people, but I don't understand it. In my logical mind, I'm like, why would you write stuff down in the safe house just in case it's discovered then the opposition knows that this is a safe house and they can't use it anymore. But I did like how they threw Quinlan Voss in there. And they were telling people, just if you were not up to the Star Wars mythos, Quinlan Voss is one of the Jedi that was able to survive Order 66, and how he stood out there and they're teasing it. So, we might see him later on in live action. So I like the way how they threw that out there. But Vader has already been contacted, and he shows up there at the planet, and the minute Obi-Wan was feeling something, I said, oh, no, Vader's there. And then it's confirmed by the next shot that Vader's there. And they go about escaping. Obi-Wan said he'll lead them away while Leia and the other young lady gets away. And you see Third Sister still acting impulsive. And he leads Vader away. And, of course, with Obi-Wan dealing with his failure, he has not trained or really used the Force or trained in a decade, and it shows. And they even tease the lightsaber. When he first encounters Vader in the quarry, Vader has his lightsaber ignited, but Obi-Wan doesn't touch his. He runs away. And then in the next shot, since it's dark out there, Obi-Wan ignites his lightsaber to see around a little bit and prepare for an attack. And then Vader's shown in the next scene without his lightsaber ignited. So I like the way Deborah Chow directed that to tease the upcoming battle between the two when you really didn't see both of their lightsabers ignited until about 5 minutes later when they first ignited. And of course, Vader being through what he's been through in the past 10 decades, changing his fighting style because of the suit and all of the other training he's been through, is wiping the floor with Obi-Wan, of course, as it should be. And what I didn't like is, this is what I did like about that fight. I like the fact that Vader was torturing Obi-Wan. I like that part. What I didn't like is after he finishes beating the ever-living snot over Obi-Wan, when he puts the fuel cells up there, uses the Force to ignite it, and then uses the Force to drag Obi-Wan after he disarms his lightsaber into the flames to give him a taste of his own medicine, like how Vader received what he got on Mustafar on episode 3, right? The young rebel spy that was working inside the Empire, she shoots a couple things to distract Vader in the probe and ignites something else to make the fire hotter, right? And then the loader that was there the loader droid was able to grab Kenobi and go. I'm like, wait a minute, just because the flame got a little bit hotter, Vader survived the lava of Mustafar and been through numerous other trials in comic books and graphic novels. And you tell me just because the flame got a little bit higher because it was ignited from a sniper rifle that he couldn't use the Force and grab Obi-Wan and drag his behind through the flames to torture him anymore to grab him? That's bunk. That is bunk. That Vader wouldn't either charge in and get him or use a Force pull to pull him out of there, to grab him. Just because the flames got a little bit high, that would not satisfy Vader in his thirst for vengeance after looking for Obi-Wan for 10 freaking years, a decade. Come on now. I did not like that part. I know they're trying to tease the big battle, but I think they should have added something else in there that would have stopped Vader from charging in versus what we got. I didn't like that. And so then we fast forward and then we get to the end where Leia runs into Reva, Third Sister, and she killed the pilot. And by the way, they teased like the pilot was going to be someone else from an old character, Star Wars, but we saw that he wasn't. when we get there, but Leia was smart enough to know that it wasn't her. And then right before it goes black, we see Leia go right back into the tunnel, and Third Sister goes after her. Now I wonder, will Third Sister grab her immediately, or are we going to get more Three Ninjas Home Alone stuff with her trying to grab Leia and not quite able to get her? All right. Overall, I'm still on the fence about this. There are a couple things I would have saw better, and I already told you what I would have done better in this. And I can say from the jump, I know a lot of people are throwing hate at Reva, Third Sister, but I like the way they introduced her, because from the jump, they're showing you why you should hate her. You know, she comes in, she is not acting like any other Sith Lord or Inquisitor that we've seen, and she's being really brash, really bold, and stepping over lines. And the thing that makes it like, oh my goodness, I hate her, and the reason why you should, as the villain, and why the actress is doing a wonderful job, is because you can see the other Inquisitors have they have more command over the Force than she does. Hence, why I think that's Fifth Brother, if I'm not mistaken. Don't crucify me when it comes to this, but I think that's Fifth Brother. And when she goes to the base and she tells that she spoke to Vader, and when he uses the Force, like to have her arms and legs up and she's bending over the table, she couldn't even break out of that. So you know that she is, just like the Grand Inquisitor says, she is the least among them, which means she's not as powerful and more trained in combat as the other Inquisitors. And that's what makes Star Wars fans like really look at her as like, oh, we don't like Reva because she's not necessarily the most powerful, but she's acting like she is. And I think that's a wonderful job by Deborah Chow, showing that. Because I want to see how they're going to reveal some more of her backstory and show why she has such an axe to ground for Obi-Wan. I have an idea, but we'll put that in the other video. But I like the fact how they did all that to show why she should be a villain, and that's why they amped up the things. Well, that's my review so far. So next Wednesday, we're going to do it again and see how the story continues. I am still on the fence. So if I had to give it a rank, I am gray Jedi about this. Neither good, neither bad. I want to see a little bit more to see if this is going to be great. But I really, really hope that this does not go the way of Boba Fett and they build it all up and think you're going to get a nice finale to this, to wrap everything up in a nice bow, and then it just falls flat. I hope it really does not go that way, but we'll find out soon enough. Once again, thank you for tuning in for another episode of EETV, where we strive to bring you everything in entertainment. Like, share, and subscribe if you feel like it. See you in the next one, and may the Force be with you.